What price on life? Or better still, what price on human life? In some countries, it seems that a human life isn't all that expensive. They just don't respect it as much. And when you go down the Big Mac Index, the Big Mac Index, by the way, was started by the magazine The Economist.
Mm.
That follows the price of a Big Mac around the world to find
Yeah.
out parity index of nations. So how much of your salary would you use to buy a Big Mac?
Yeah. Okay.
In countries. Well, if you did that with the same, if you did that with the same with how much would it cost to hire an assassin,
Mm.
then in Brazil, in relative terms, it would be cheaper
Oh.
than, let's say, in the UK, where of course they are few and far between.
Hmm.
Right?
Supply
Um,
demand. Yeah.
there you are. Well, they're a bit more expensive, so
Yeah.
you have to import them. Now, it seems that life in the UK is going to become somewhat of a disposable commodity, like a big razor, a bit like a big razor.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
At least if the government has its way in the House of Commons today. Now, we're recording this on the Tuesday,
Yes.
17th of June. The UK is about to give permission to every woman in the UK who wishes to abort a child they are gestating up until the moment of birth.
Mm.
Uh, Only once have I heard something more extreme coming from a government, and that is of the government of Minnesota, where somebody suggested that they wanted to make the law where mothers can abort their babies postpartum after birth.
Yeah.
But that section of the bill that was presented to uh, the government, the
Yeah.
local government,
Yeah.
uh, was
State
struck off.
government. Yeah.
Yeah, it was struck off.
Mm.
So in the UK, the current law is that a woman can have an abortion up until 24 weeks gestation,
Mm.
right? And only then if the mother's or the child's life are in danger, or if they were raped by, say, a family member, or raped, I suppose, as
Yeah.
well.
Well, it is. Yeah. It's a contentious issue in that, but yeah, I know it's I know.
Right. But in the House of Commons today, a bill will be introduced, which so far has 170 supporters amongst the Labour MPs
Mm.
in the chamber, to raise the threshold up until the moment before birth, and it appears for any reason. Right. So if the child is not the desired sex, for example, the mother will have the right to self-abort, although the path will be paved eventually for them to get assistance from a medical practitioner, because they never do anything at one time only. They'll do it bit by bit, step by step. So
Yeah.
now it's going to be
Yeah.
legal if this
Yeah.
passes
I
for a
know. Yeah.
woman to self-abort, for her to
Mm.
do her own abortion.
Mm.
And eventually they're going to put it on the national health, I'm sure, because they'll say, well, it's putting the mother in danger if she does it by herself. I can see that coming
Oh
down
yeah.
the
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So one can snuff out a life because you had a row with your boyfriend, for example. If a woman wants to get back,
Mm.
or wants to get back at her husband, so she'll self-abort a child that perhaps they were planning to have together.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
there's nothing that the police can do about it because it's called being decriminalised.
Mm.
Okay? Or if you find out that your partner's been unfaithful, and any discussion that you have, familiar
Yeah. A
discussion that
relationship. Yeah. Yeah.
you know what some women can be like, right? They're not satisfied with burning your clothes. So
Yeah. How far will people go? Yeah.
they,
That's
they
always the
might
question.
they
Yeah.
might they might they might self, but you never know.
Yeah.
All right, these scenarios might be a little bit far-fetched, but as life is being respected less and less,
Mm.
right, it might just make you step back a pace and think, what price a human life?
Right.
There are,
Oh.
there are two amendments uh, to the crime and policing bill proposed for today's debate and vote to change the 1861 Offences Against the Person Act, which, when it first came into law, prohibited abortions, to amend to prohibited abortions and to amend the legislation to now allow women aborting their own babies
Mm.
and for frivolous reasons.
Yeah. Okay.
I know that you're Catholic, and I know that
Yeah.
you're against this sort of thing.
Yeah. My
Which is why I thought, well, no better person to to bring the subject up
right.
with.
Okay. I'm going to be as objective as I can with this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's what I was doing. My mind was clicking. Okay. You can see from my say facial expressions, and okay, hands down, I'm a Catholic. I find the whole. I'll start off with a position. Yeah, of spirituality. What I believe. I believe. Yeah. Put it on the table. I'm entitled to do that. That all taken of a life is a taken of a life. Yeah. Um, amendments are caveats are thou shalt not murder. Yeah, is my general thing. Okay, if somebody's threatening your life and you're in the ability to save it or your family's, maybe there's a justification for taking a life. With this, you are taking, for me, a defenseless, innocent life. Okay, I know there's a clump of cells up to the point of birth. It's not a clump of cells anymore. It's a conscience, as far as a conscious being. Yeah. Um, that's all I would say. As far as I'm concerned, it's a taking of an innocent life.
they are in the United States,
Mm,
and look, everything that's happened in the United States, if this legislation gets passed,
yeah,
it's going to happen in the UK.
yeah.
So buckle up, and this is what's going to happen
Well,
in the United States. What is allowed
mm,
are uh, partial birth abortions.
mm,
What is a partial birth abortion? Is where a woman has an abortion,
mm,
but the fetus survives the abortion, so then it becomes a person.
mm,
However, the law is in the United States is that the physicians will just put the baby in a tray, put it in a cold room, and just don't feed it and let it die. Let it die.
yeah, I've heard
Or
about this.
if there are also I think it's legislation is that if the child is born horrifically deformed,
Mm,
then they can also uh, then they can also uh, do the same thing and just not it isn't kill the baby, but just not treat the baby.
well, it's euthanasia in all but a name, yeah, to me.
Well, euthanasia. You've got to be active. You've got to be proactive to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Just ignoring and putting it in a closed room somewhere uh, for a couple of days.
Still an
That,
action. Yeah, I mean, okay. I'm going to break down what you said. I mean, aborting a healthy. I mean, yeah, I know there's commentators in the US, and I'm trying not to copy them, and I try to put my own spin, my own not spin on my own theories on this, or word it in a way. Um, okay, as I've said to my daughter, getting pregnant is one of the easiest things you can actually achieve in life. Yeah, getting pregnant is one of the easiest things. Um, so when they say about women's choice and everything else, women had the choice months before. Yeah. And they sometimes, oh, I don't like the guy it's with or something else. I go, well, I'm afraid are you of sound mind and judgment? If you're not, yeah. Um, I know they say, well, it's my body, my choice. You made that choice with your body. Yeah. I know human desires and everything else, and it's the cruelest trick that probably nature plays on us, everything else. Yeah. The whole idea of sex is to have is to have children, create a life, create life. Yeah, that's the whole point of sex. And any animal, sometimes it works. It's extremely difficult actually to. The chances of actually getting pregnant are still very, very minor. There's so many hurdles. But yeah, I'm not a medical person. But yeah, um, My own belief is, yeah, it's a child from inception. Yeah, I have seen, and I'll be quite honest, I've seen the effects of when women years later have had an abortion and how it affects them mentally as well. I've seen this in the UK and in Brazil and with other people as well. Yeah. I have seen that as well. So from that perspective, I've also seen what it can do to women regret years later. And
Yeah,
this
yeah.
isn't a regret like getting a tattoo. Yeah.
No, right.
This is a regret that you have, yeah, you've reflected and everything else. Yeah. Um, if you're a Catholic, you don't always believe judgment will happen in this life, it will happen in the next. Yeah. And priests can't always give you the answer to this. Um, I mean, when people talk about a disabled child, again, I have a lot of issues with that, because you're now getting into selective breeding, deformities, and things like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm changing the subject slightly, but I'm trying to think of all angles here for justification in my mind why you would do this. Okay, financial reasons. With all with all that, I mean, maybe there's lots of systems in place now where you can still have contact with a child, but there might be adoption, or there might be fostering, or there might be a lot of other ways to do it. Yeah, maybe I'm not saying the state should offer absolute things, but maybe that's the way to do it. I also know where families are quite happily to take on the child. And I know childbirth is a painful process, ladies. I'm aware of it. I've seen it myself with, yeah, my own partner, my own wife. Um, we had complications at the point of birth with that as well, and yeah, nearly had complications before that. Um, I'm going to be honest, due to medical reasons, we were told my daughter shouldn't have actually happened. So she's a walking miracle. So yeah, maybe you're talking to the wrong person here. And when I was told you probably won't have children, it was one of the most devastating things for me. Yeah, but I'll change the subject slightly, but I'm coming to it now. And there are cases sometimes, and I'm going to be honest about it. Right, as you said, the woman's or the partner's state, or the individual state of mind. Yeah. Um, there are cases of men overall do want children as well. It's our natural thing. I won't say our right. It's what we do as well. I've seen it where men have been more than boys, or men have got their girlfriend pregnant, probably not a serious relationship, and stood by them with the child. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, no,
And
it happens, and all the
yeah,
married guys out there. Yep, yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And um, even to the point is sometimes I've seen it here. Yeah, the wife has taken the child in as part of the family as well. Yeah, that's accepted, not accepted, but maybe had strong beliefs that well will help out if they can, if she can. Yeah. And a strong woman, hell of a woman. I mean, the relationship's probably in a very tight situation. But yeah, we have to look at society, what's acceptable. Um,
And that's the thing, Mark. You've you've just said it there, because
mm,
this legislation passing in the UK,
mm,
society is going to start getting more and more lax,
mm,
more and more liberal. Like I said, they're going to start bringing things across to the UK from the US,
yeah,
which today might horrify us, or some of us, and in another 5, 10 years' time, it's the norm.
mm, yeah, um,
And where would that lead us? I mean, in the US, it's quite an anonymous place because it's
mm,
so large.
mm,
But you get to somewhere like the UK, which is
mm,
much more compact. This sort of practice, I'm sure you can't just sort of wander out into the crowds anymore,
mm,
and become like Cannibal Lecter, the or Hannibal Lecter
yeah,
at the end of where he just walks out into the crowds.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you won't be able to do that in a small country.
yeah. It's um, yes, what's acceptable to us. I mean, okay, might be people listening to this podcast who disagree with everything I've said. Yeah, you can do. I mean, yeah, don't get angry in the well, it's not I care, but don't get angry in the comments down below. State your reason, and okay, you might have a reason. I believe, and fundamentally, I believe, like you do, the way society is slipping. I was going to get into this, but I didn't want to get too deep at this point. Um, the societies or civilizations disappearing because we get to a point of yeah, I got to be careful. Sodom and Gomorrah, yeah, the 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 cities that were
Why,
destroyed in the Bible. Yeah.
why I ask which is worth more, a
Mm.
life, human life, or a big razor, disposable big razor?
Well, yeah, it's putting things, as you can see, it's an emotion. I'm not normally.
I've got something really funny is
Yeah,
that somebody can argue that if you throw your big razor away in the rubbish,
yeah,
you're committing a crime because you're not being very eco.
yeah,
But if you put an 8.5 month baby in the bin, that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. You can see this conversation's affected me, and Stephen knows I'm quite a tough guy. I like a good thing, but yeah, it is a very emotional thing for me, having seen the effects, like say, years later. Let alone what we are. I wasn't saying encouraging women to be able to do. I mean, I'm not suggesting women don't have a mind of their own. So I'm being very careful of that because I know there should be two parties involved in any decision for this as well. Um, okay, men tell lies. Men will do anything to get a bit of fun, as it were. Um, we all know that. And yeah, as one day my daughter said she doesn't like doesn't like boys tell lies. I said hold that thought as well. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Mainly talking about younger women of childbearing age. Um, it may
Oh,
be maybe women that decide. I mean, I know we all moan about social security and supporting people, but maybe we have to, as a society, decide that. I mean, there's lots of charities. The Catholic Church, I know, has a support service, even for non-Catholics, I believe. Yeah, for women that do fall, and you don't even have to. I believe you don't have to become a Catholic, but again, please don't
yeah,
quote
well,
me. Yeah,
they won't need to do this if they decriminalize what if this legislation gets through. All of that will be put
mm,
through the wayside. That I mean, when I mean it has been decriminalized. Sorry, it was a criminal offence,
yeah,
right? But women still used to do it. You know,
yeah.
we've
I know, but
got the old story of Mother's Ruin. You know, Gordon's gin and a hot
yeah,
bath.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
The back street abortion clinics. Yeah, or
so
back
you
street
know,
abortions. Yeah,
it's always been on the
yeah,
cards.
yeah,
But now that they're trying to legalize it, or decriminalize it rather, you
yeah.
then they're going to be. I'm sure that some women are going to come through a a a, a point where if it was still illegal, they would say, "Well, I can't,"
Mm,
to "Yes, I can," and it could be, I mean, we've seen these stories of babies turning up on doorsteps.
yeah.
We might be seeing fetuses turning up in public bogs, and and it could. There's no limit as to what can go on here.
Well,
You
again, as I sort of saying, I think Western society's spiraling down into an
Yes, of course
abomination
it is.
anyway.
Which is one of the things one of the whole points of this
Yeah.
is to show how far they're stretching it.
Well, it's been pushed, and I mean, it's been pushed okay since the six. Yeah, I used to work with an older guy, and he used to say, well, if you like, the thing started to go wrong in the 60s, and I didn't quite understand what he meant at the time, because obviously I'm a liberal. Because when you use the term liberal, I don't see this as being a liberal attitude. A liberal attitude is to me is to understand the woman's plight and to support her in helping raise a future member of society. That's a liberal society to me. Understanding something has gone right, children's choice, and assisting her, not assisting this person to commit in my view, okay, my view, people, but don't criticize me because I'm entitled to opinion. My view, murder. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I'll put my cards on the table. I don't mind uh, abortion
Mm,
early term. But I think it's pushing it a bit when you're doing it at 8 months, eight and
mm,
a half month gestation,
yeah.
because
So,
the baby's already been formed. And I mean, babies have been born at 6 months old and survived,
yeah,
So, you know, there's got to be a point where you draw the line in the sand and you can't go any further than that. And I think that the past laws have done that in the UK, have
yeah,
done that. They've drawn the line in the sand and said, that's it.
yeah,
And what's going to happen today, which it hasn't been picked up by the news because everybody's on about the grooming gangs.
yeah, yeah. Don't look
Has-
here, look there. Yeah,
Won't
yeah,
be picked up by the news if it gets voted through. Sorry, it'll only appear more in the news if it gets voted through.
yeah. And then everyone will say, "Isn't this disgraceful?" Half the media, some media say disgraceful. Others, as I say, as a society, you got to choose what type of society you want. Um, People like me will be criticised and hammered and everything else for
People like me too,
yeah,
even though
yeah,
I was I wouldn't say in favour of, but I
mm,
would say that it wouldn't
mm,
upset me,
mm,
as a legislation
yeah.
stands as it is at this
Yeah,
moment in
yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
time.
you've got the tolerance point. Yeah,
That's right.
obviously, I've been brought up in a very,
It's
very
like,
different world as well. I mean, yeah, your upbringing is part of it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen what happens with women who have had miscarriages, and in the wall down the way, there's women having abortions.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and my logical mind goes, maybe there's a deal to be done here. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is society. That's how people keep to old society. That's how a society should operate. Somebody need and the mother, the child, maybe can keep in contact. I don't know how that would work, and that would
Normally a mother wants her own child.
yeah, but
It's only when you can't bear children that you go into
yeah,
you,
I you understand what I'm saying now. The balance of it all, and the thinking thing. I wouldn't say yeah, hey, have this baby instead. I didn't mean that, but yeah, maybe if maybe we as a society, we could look at sort of support groups or other things, more support groups and things like this. Yeah, that is to me how a liberal society operates.